Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Welcome to Glenn's Dynamic Sports Card, everybody. Happy Thursday, April 22nd, as they say. Happy Earth Day. Welcome to the 163rd show of Glenn's Dynamic Sports Card. Hope you're all having a wonderful week. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to get into today. We have lots and loaded. We're about a little bit under an hour today. And ladies and gentlemen, what are we just... 37 more shows to go until 200. That's a little bit miles away. But let me get into the business side of this morning. Let's start with the Alex Smith announces his retirement from the National Football League. Alex Smith, very productive player, was the number one overall pick by the San Francisco. He was number one overall pick in the NFL draft. Many years ago, the San Francisco 49ers, he played for them, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Washington football team. He was a good quarterback, got to the playoffs a lot, but then yet again, he couldn't win the Super Bowl. So he was replaced throughout his career by Colin Kaepernick, who got the 49ers to a Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes, who led the Chiefs to win a Super Bowl and got them to another this past year. And now in Washington, it's probably Taylor Heinicke or Ryan Fitzpatrick. We didn't know if Alex Smith was ever going to play football again after that catastrophic leg injury. And he could have potentially died from it. And the fact that he somehow came back from it is utterly crazy. What are the odds say that he could have almost potentially died and never played football again to making it back to the NFL to start at least for 1 year? That is ridiculously mental toughness, strength, and courage. And now I saw this morning on Twitter, right before I went on to the show, that he's going to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and he doesn't have a leg brace or any kind of sort of bruises, it feels like, in the photo, which is a props to him. He had a very good NFL career. Not a Hall of Fame player, obviously. But he is the definition of what you call a player that did it with grace and class throughout his entire NFL career. There are no questions asked about it whatsoever. The fact he was able to play this long is a encouraging sign for people that are injured and saying, hey, don't give up. Look at what happened with the year. It was just for 1 year, not even a year. But he made it count when it mattered. So he was one of the reasons why Washington football team got into the playoffs this year, even though, he was 5-1. And then they got to figure out long-term, other than Ryan Fitzpatrick and Taylor Heineke, what Ron Rivera, Dan Snyder want to do. Next up onto the NFL agenda, Mike Tomlin. He signs a contract extension with the Pittsburgh Steelers for the next 3 years. Now, Mike Tomlin has been coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers for the last decade. I remember when the Pittsburgh Steelers went 13-3 and lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC Divisional Playoff round, that me and probably a couple other Steelers buddies that I know were calling for him to be fired. But there's obvious reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers have yet to fire him, and I actually find this contract extension a little bit surprising, because Ben Roethlisberger, this is probably his last year, and he's the Harpy Hardsell of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. And I'm just going to say that I thought they would maybe just give him one more year with Roethlisberger, then completely start over with a new coach and maybe a new young quarterback. But that's not what the Steelers are about. The Steelers are about a win now. They are a win-first organization. I don't think they believe in rebuilds. That's not the way they operate. They're about good drafting in the later rounds. That's what the Steelers organization is. Tons of grace and class as well. That's the way they always have operated under the Roonies, and nothing's going to change. The fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers have always been floating around and been a relevant organization is always good for the NFL. Mike Tomlin has never lost the locker room. Many will ask, was he able to control Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell together in those locker room all those years? Because Antonio Brown, some people think he's a complete and utter head case. And Le'Veon Bell simply couldn't stay off the weed. He simply could not stay off it. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm surprised they also kept Juju Smith-Schuster, who I think is another wannabe Antonio Brown. And he's perfectly under the right head coach Mike Tomlin, because if he does leave Mike Tomlin, he's going to be out of control and let loose Juju Smith-Schuster. You know what they say, good parenting, there's a reason why that they don't let their kids leave for college, let them go out of town, because they know there'll be other head cases. Well, this is the reason with Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. You can basically make the same case for one of those three things, right? I guess you could. But I find it very important that Mike Tomlin, with this contract extension, means they're obviously not going to find anyone better than him, because you're probably not going to. That's number one. Number two with this is that Mike Tomlin, we give him all the criticism because of Bill Belichick. But let me ask you this question. What's Bill Belichick without Tom Brady as the head coach? Oh, he's under 500. What's Mike Tomlin's record without Ben Roethlisberger? He's actually over 500, and we don't give Mike Tomlin enough credit. Don't ever forget They were 8-5, not last season, but the season before. And then until they collapsed in the final 3 games. With Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. Don't ever forget that. Because he had his defense playing at a high level. You can question the offensive schemes of his all you want. But the truth of the matter is, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, is that Mike Tomlin never loses the locker room, and I couldn't agree more of Colin Cowherd on Fox Sports 1. The Pittsburgh Steelers, yeah, they might finish in last because I don't like their roster. They're an old roster. But you can't say, and if I sit here at this time next year and say, hey, 8-8, 9-7, yeah, they didn't make the playoffs, but they're a respectable opponent, you'll be like, okay, it's Mike Tomlin. He's one of the best in the business. Mike Tomlin is going to be a Hall of Famer one day as an NFL head coach. And we all know it. It's just we give him so much criticism because the Pittsburgh Steelers expect a Super Bowl year after year. Which is why people in Pittsburgh like Mike Sullivan more than Mike Tomlin, simply for the sole reason that Mike Sullivan has 2 Stanley Cups on his resume, and Mike Tomlin only has the 1 Super Bowl. That's probably why he has gotten so much criticism over the years. Well, they both get their fair share of criticism. Please, they're both, but fans in Pittsburgh are calling both of them to be fired. That's just the way the Pittsburgh media and their fan base works. And no, I've called for Tomlin's head time after time, but not as much as Mike Sullivan. And I probably should lay off of the hot sauce of calling for Mike Tomlin's head. So my apologies to that. But I am not going to apologize for something else in a minute. Because after this, and I know Pittsburgh radio's called for younger blood on the offensive line in the running game, and I'm sure general manager Kevin Colbert will take care of that. And I like their ownership with the Rooneys, Arthur Rooney. And I'm telling you, the Rooney family knows how to do it. And then head coach Mike Tom. So then, now let's go take a trip. Let's go from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Let's go down I-376 onto the Pennsylvania Turnpike, I-76 East. Let's go to the other side of the state, the dark side of the state. Let me just say, not the evil side of the state, but let's just say it is the dark side of the state of Pennsylvania. Nothing ever good happens in Philadelphia, unlike Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we're taking this trip. See, you see this pencil right here? Here's the pencil. This is let's just say this is along I-76 coast, Pittsburgh to here. Now let's go all the way to Philadelphia, and here we are 5 hours later. Should have held the card up. Actually, let me do it right now, just for amusement and entertainment. Here we are. 5 hours later. You probably can't see it on here, but I'm just trying to be fun and Phoenicians. 5 hours later, we are in Philadelphia, where nothing good ever happens. So here's what I'm about to say about Philadelphia. And before I can mention about the Philadelphia Eagles dysfunction, I would like to call out on my show right now, and I said it this morning. Sports Stance, I am calling you out because I don't want you to ever again to call out, to ever put in the same sentence that the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants have the same amount of dysfunction. I don't want to ever hear those words on the Twitter. The complete blasphemy that had to come out of your mouth to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, saying that they're on the same level as the New York Giants rock bottom, and it's complete despicable that those words would ever be mentioned, and I'm completely and utterly disgusted that I have to hear such blasphemy and such utter nonsense so early in the morning. You see when you poke the bear, you wake it up, and you just have to make me go on a rant, which means rant equals more viewers. I guess that's how it works in the sports media. Just go ask Pat McAfee or Skip Bayless or Stephen A. Smith. But now let me get back into this. So Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, yesterday in the press conference, does not commit to Jalen Hurts being the starting quarterback for the 2021 regular season. What is the translation of Sirianni saying Hurts will not be the starting quarterback? It'll be an open competition. Well, this tells you a couple of things. Number one, let me be clear about this. Yes, Nick Sirianni was hired as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, but he's not the head coach of that team. Do you want to know who the real head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles actually is? It's General Manager Howie Roseman. He's the one calling the shots. I'm telling you right now, if the Philadelphia Eagles trade up from 12 into a higher selection, I can so see them taking a quarterback. But you have to surround Jalen Hurts with the necessary tools to succeed. Excuse me. The fact that Nick Sirianni had the guts to say something like that is completely mind-blowing. He's not a head coach. He's going to fail. In the first couple of years, we're going to wonder, what happened? What happened with Nick Sirianni? Oh, it's the power between owner Jeffrey Lurie and also General Manager Howie Roseman, who are basically the ownership, who basically have a love affair for each other and think they can do no wrong. They probably have some dirty pictures of each other, which in the reason why this is the problem with the Eagles, and the Athletic had a story out a few weeks ago, wondering how in the world in the high seas that Doug Peterson was able to win the Super Bowl with this complete and utter dysfunction of an organization, which is why you cannot compare how low the Eagles have been set. The Eagles are by far going to be the worst team in the NFC East. The New York Giants are at least trending upwards with the Washington football team. We don't know what the Dallas Cowboys are going to be. Jerry Jones can't get out of his own way. It seems like the NFC East owners could probably get in the room right now and talk how much they can make all the other teams worse. Between Jerry Jones, and he can't get out of his way with being a businessman and being an all in it for the headlines, Jeffrey Lurie's issue is that he doesn't want to let go of his good pal Howie Roseman, general manager. Dan Snyder of the Washington football team, he basically has an issue. He actually has ethical issues. He should sell the team. I've been saying it for months on this show, and I've been saying it for the past year. I talked to fans about it, and they agree with me. And another thing about the New York Giants, I've come for John Maris and Steve Tisch's head, but they actually like the direction they're going in. I still think that John Mara and Steve Tisch, time and time again, like to sleep, which they probably do. But the truth of the matter is, as I said about the Giants are heading up, Washington football team's heading up, Dallas Cowboys, I think, are here, and the Philadelphia Eagles are getting down. You want to know where the Philadelphia Eagles belong? It's right under this right here. This is where the Philadelphia Eagles belong, my friends. Put them in this trash can. Should have brought the Philadelphia Eagles hat with me. That's where the Eagles belong. Right in that trash can. That's where they're going to be, in the basement and in the trash can for the next 5 to 10 years in the NFC least or the NFC least. And I know my friend's probably going to tell me I'm crazy later. That's fine. She and a couple others probably will tell me in my face that I'm probably crazy anyways, or he or whatever. Some friends will probably tell me I'm utterly crazy and completely out of my mind. But let's be real about this also, and I find this actually all very funny. And as I said about ranting equals more viewers. I'm just going off the wall here today, simply just because, as they say in this one SpongeBob commercial of selling shells, louder equals better. I mean, excuse me. Does it bode well with Pat McAfee? Yes. Skip Bayless? Yes. Stephen A. Smith? Of course it does. Maybe I need to be more the same of louder equals better. That should be my new motto that I have on this show. Louder equals better. Yeah, I'm done with this Philadelphia Eagles take here. And they had that trade with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Miami Dolphins from the 6th to the 12th pick. Use promo code 12OunceSports. Get up to $1,000 bonus with your first deposit. MyBookie.ag. Promo 12OunceSports. 12OunceSports, quench your sports thirst. Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner, we are live. Thank you, JB Beck, Cody Jensen, Michael Kavaris, Lou Gamlin, Philly Pete, and congrats to you and your wife on the newborn edition. Much success, and let's keep rolling here. So now let me get into the National Hockey League. The playoff chases are simply heating up. In the final couple of weeks of the regular season, we're less than a month away from the regular season ending. The whole schedule messed a lot of things up. On the 19th of May will actually be when all the regular season games are completed because of the Vancouver Canucks. They had to deal with a bad COVID outbreak, and now there's a slim possibility that they might make a serious push for the 4th and final playoff spot in that North Division over the Montreal Canadiens, but time is going to tell. So where do I begin with the National Hockey League game recaps and this playoff chase that's coming up? Let's start with Tuesday night's affair between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I know Tampa Bay won on Monday night and Carolina got back on Tuesday. What I liked about Carolina bouncing back on the back-to-back, well, both teams made right decisions goaltending-wise. Number one, the Carolina Panthers need to run Alex Nedeljkovic and need to make him the permanent starter, and Rob Brind'Amour needs to stop with the goalie carousel. Alex Nedeljkovic is going to be the answer for the Carolina Hurricanes cut the Stanley Cup playoffs. And they got a big one today against the Florida Panthers because that top of the division is completely brutal. If the Dallas Stars make the Stanley Cup playoffs, we know how good the East Division is. But Central Division, that's another murder's row. Absolutely, relatively, no questions asked about it. So Carolina won 4-1 against Tampa Bay. And the other correct thing is John Cooper basically had no choice but to go back to Andrei Vasilevsky because Curtis McElhinney stinks from the S to the K as a backup goalie. Excuse me. And I'm just saying that he has no reliable backup to rely on, and the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be in complete and utterly trouble if Andrei Vasilevsky ever were to get hurt. So there are no goals scored in the first period. Let's start with the second period goals. Nino Niederreiter, 7:48 mark assisted by Vincent Trocheck and Martin Necas. Carolina, Jordan Staal, 18-13 mark, assisted by Dougie Hamilton and Nino Niederreiter. Carolina Hurricanes, Steven Lorentz, 16-45 mark, assisted by Morton Geekie and Cedric Paquette. Tampa Bay, Brayden Point, 17-03 mark, assisted by Andre Palat and Ryan McDonough. Third period goals, Carolina Hurricanes, Jordan Martinook, 1957 mark, empty net goal, assisted by Sebastian Aho and Jesper Fast. Alex Nedeljkovic finished the game with 26 saves for the Carolina Hurricanes, and Andrei Vasilevsky finished the game with 32 saves for Tampa Bay Lightning. So, Carolina, what I like about Rob Brind'Amour's squad, simply put, that the Carolina Hurricanes got grit, they got defense, they got a mixture of youth and veterans, and I like the additions of a guy like Jesper Fast and Vincent Trocheck, who are veterans in this league. It's going to go a long way in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and a lot of people think, and I guarantee there are a lot of bets being placed on the Carolina Hurricanes to win the Stanley Cup this year. And you know what? It's worth it. I don't know if they're going to win the Stanley Cup, but I understand why they're going to bet them. And obviously, Tampa is one of the top 3 favorites to win it all. So now let's get into the next one, the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders. So with the Islanders dismantling the Rangers 6-1, the Islanders now have a 9-point cushion over the Rangers in the East Division, and the Rangers' time is simply running out on their playoff hopes. But that still doesn't dismiss the fact that they have a bright future ahead of them, and they are still going to be a completely lethal team next year. Maybe they have one more push in them, because they got a couple easy games against the Philadelphia Flyers coming up, who they have completely torched time and time again. And one of the leaders on the New York Islanders, Matthew Barzal, the RPR and soul of the New York Islanders. And I'm telling you, his bottom lines helped him out the other night, because simply, first period goes New York Islanders, Josh Bailey, 17-42 mark, assisted by J.G. Pageau and Anthony Beauvillier. Second period goals, New York Islanders, Brock Nelson, 138 mark, assisted by Nick Leddy and Kyle Palmieri. New York Islanders, Anthony Beauvillier, 5:45 mark, power play goal, assisted by Noah Dobson and Jordan Eberle. New York Rangers, Kevin Rooney, 11:04 mark, assisted by Brendan Smith and Vitaly Kravtsov. Now, here's another one of those young New York Rangers players that has a bright future ahead of him. Now, I discussed this with a New York Rangers fan that I know the other day. Would the Rangers be willing to trade a Kravtsov and also either a Cabo Kakko, Alexis Lafreniere, or a Chris Kreider or someone else to Brendan Smith to match a salary for Jack Eichel and give up a couple of first-round picks? If the Rangers think they're close, and I know the Sabres are going through a rebuild, well, that's a serious thing. That might be something to look at in the offseason, because we know the Buffalo Sabres rebuilding. New York Rangers want to say, hey, we want to win now. We got Mika Zibanejad. We got Pavel Buchnevich. We got Adam Fox. Look, we could add Jack Eichel to the mix, and along with Artemi Panarin, we could be a threat immediately. And maybe the New York Rangers have done this rebuild right, with Chris Drury in the front office, and they're also the general manager. So how about the third period goals? New York Islanders, John Gabriel Pageau, 7:44 mark. Assisted by Anthony Beauvillier and Josh Bailey. So as Islanders fans will say, well, Uncle Frank tells me this all the time. J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now. I need a structured 7. I need cash now called J.G. Pageau, not J.G. Wentworth. 877 cash now. So yes, I decided to say it, and I thought it would be fun. So, who else scored here in the third period for the New York Islanders? So, after J.G. Pageau, at the 7:44 mark, assisted by Anthony Beauvillier and Josh Bailey. Josh Bailey scores at the 10:16 mark, assisted by Anthony Beauvillier and Andy Green. And then Jordan Eberle at the 11:22 mark, assisted by Travis Zajac. Igor Shesterkin finished the game with 22 saves for the New York Rangers. and Semyon Varlamov finished the game with 25 saves for the New York Islanders. So now let me get into another utterly crazy game for you all. Pittsburgh Penguins, New Jersey Devils from Tuesday night, 7-6. Pittsburgh won 7-6, but they had a 6-0 lead in the third period. Mike Sullivan wasn't pleased that they blew that 6-0 lead and almost collapsed and choked the game away. He was rather in utter shock rather than upset. He didn't go to a dry erase board or have him do drills before practice yesterday. What he did do, he just talked to the team about, hey, what we could do better. He's like, it's like how a parent's upset about children, like you did something really bad. He's like, I don't want to punch you. I don't want to make you run laps. I don't want to lecture on anything. It's like, hey, let's sit down and talk. Let's make things better. That's why Mike Sullivan is one of the best coaches in the NHL. He did a good parenting job with the Penguins there. That's what you do. You consult the team. You don't rough ride. That's how you tune out a hockey team. So give credit to Mike Sullivan where it's due, but also give credit to Lindy Ruff's young squad for also not quitting. And I've always backed the New Jersey Devils on this show. I do like some of their young players. You can question how good of an organization they run things. But the New Jersey Devils fans are ecstatic that Alexander Holtz, the 7th overall pick in the 2021 NHL draft, is going to be ready next year to be played in National Hockey League games. He's going to be playing with the Binghamton Devils in the AHL for the rest of the year. And he's probably going to be the winger that sparks, ignites, and pops Jack Hughes' games next year. I guarantee you there have been talks in the organization that Alexander Holtz is going to be the top winger in the New Jersey Devils franchise for the next decade, and he's going to be a sniper just like Alex Ovechkin, the Washington Capitals, and Patrick Laine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. But Laine was more of a sniper when he was with the Winnipeg Jets rather than Columbus. And Ovechkin's still sniping for Washington. And if he does score at least one goal tonight, he will get to 731. And can he get to 732 or 733? And maybe surpass 741 or 742 by the end of the year? Remains to be seen. But now back to this Pittsburgh Penguins New Jersey Devils game. And as I said right before I started my show, well, when I was sharing that I was live on the air, that Mike Sullivan announced that Kasperi Kapanen is a game-time decision tonight, which is huge news for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Because that means a player like Colton Sceviour, a Mark Janikowski, or a guy like Sam Lafferty, Anthony Angelo, or Raheem Zahorna will not be able to dress up. And that means that Evgeny Malkin and Brandon Tanev are also not far back from returning. But as Pittsburgh Penguins fans always know, when one player returns, another one gets injured. The old saying, a soul for a soul, is always the phrase when it comes to an injury for this team. And the old saying of an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, a leg for a leg, and so on, an arm for an arm, you get the drill. A foot for a foot. And I'm just saying, that's what is going on here with the Pittsburgh Penguins injury. Easy. So now let's get to the 7-6 game recap. Pittsburgh got a 4-0 lead after the first period. Pittsburgh Penguins, Mike Matheson, 349 mark, assisted by Cody Ceci and Jared McCann. Pittsburgh, Brian Rust, 804 mark, assisted by Sidney Crosby, Jake Gunskill. Pittsburgh Penguins, Brian Dumoulin, 849 mark, assisted by Tristan Jarry. Dumoulin's goal was a dump in from center ice, backhanded, and it just happened to be misplayed by New Jersey Devils goalie Scott Wedgwood. Pittsburgh Penguins, Jeff Carter, 1756 mark, assisted by Jared McCann, Chris Letang. So now let's get to the second period. Goals. Pittsburgh Penguins, Sonny Bluger, 112 mark, assisted by Evan Rodriguez, Zach Astor-Reese. And that line of Teddy Blueger, Evan Rodriguez, Zach Astor played well. And Rodriguez has played well this year. And Evan Rodriguez, 15-18 mark for Pittsburgh Penguins on the power play goal, assisted by Jason Zucker, John Moreno. Now let's get to the onslaught by the New Jersey Devils in the third period. Nico Hischier, 41 seconds in the third period mark, power play goal, assisted by Nicholas Merkley and Will Butcher. New Jersey Devils, Yegor Sharangovich, I like him a lot. 5-14 mark, short-handed goal assisted by, it was unassisted actually. New Jersey Devils, Nathan Bastian, 8:48 mark, assisted by Will Butcher and Miles Wood. Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby, 11:15 mark, assisted by Jay Gunsel and Brian Rust. Now that was when they were up 7-3. You're like, maybe it's good night, New Jersey Devils. But they just kept chipping and chipping away until the final buzzer sounded. Jack Hughes, 12:52 mark, assisted by Yegor Sharangovich and Janu Kukkonen. And I told another Pittsburgh Penguins fan the other day on Twitter, I'm like, I think Jack Hughes is better than Nico Hischier, but he's like to me, Nico Hischier is more better all around. He thought Jack Hughes was a better offensive player. And I'm like, I was surprised they gave Nico Hischier the captain right away. And I thought they were going to give it to Jack Hughes a couple years from now. I guess they're not going to wait on that. And he'll learn captaincy. I don't think he's playing bad. And then, because, he was the number 4 overall pick, just like Jack Hughes. So, New Jersey Devils do Nolan Foote, first career NHL goal. And as Kevin Weeks of the NHL Network always likes to say, a good buddy of Jamison Coyle, who came on my show 3 weeks ago from his date. And Kevin Weeks always says, welcome to the National. And I always love hearing and listening and following all that stuff that he likes to do on the NHL Network tonight, just like Jamison Coyle and all the rest of the dude, that they always do a wonderful job. Assisted by, at the 13:56 mark with the Nolan Foote first career NHL goal, Nicholas Merkley and Damon Severson. New Jersey Devils Andreas Johnsson, 1919 mark, assisted by Miles Wood and Will Butcher. Scott Wedgwood made 9 saves for New Jersey Devils in the first period. He was replaced in the second period for the rest of this hockey game by Aaron Dell, who finished the game with 16 saves for New Jersey Devils. And Tristan Jarry finished the game with 24 saves for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So there's a lot to take away from that game here. And ladies and gentlemen, I will be going into commercial break. I will be right back.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am back from commercial break. So I still have one more NHL game recap to touch upon, and that is from last night's game. The Nashville Predators and the Chicago Blackhawks. Excuse me. So, the Nashville Predators, along with the Chicago Blackhawks and the Dallas Stars, are chasing for the fourth and final playoff spot in the Central Division, along with the Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes, and Tampa Bay Lightning, and we know for sure those three teams will be in. The 4 through 6 spots in that the Central Division, is a 3-point separation. Nashville has 51. Dallas has 49. Chicago has 48. Along those lines. Here's the thing with the Nashville Predators. They blew a 4-1 lead against Chicago. And they lost in overtime 5-4. They lost by the game-winning goal by Brandon Hagel at the 3-minute mark, assisted by Vinny Hinostroza and Kirby Dach. Now, Kirby Dach, Brandon Hagel, Alex DeBrincat, Dominic Kubulik, and Pius Suter are some parts of the nucleus that will be around for the Chicago Blackhawks for the years to come. Now, Patrick Kane's not going to be there forever along with Duncan Keith. And speaking of not being there forever, we do have good news on another front that the captain of the Chicago Blackhawks, Jonathan Toews, is expected to be back next year with the Chicago Blackhawks because he missed the entire season due to health problems, which was not related to the coronavirus. And if he does come back for the Chicago Blackhawks next year, they might be a playoff team. As long as Malcolm Subban is not their goalie every night, and if Kevin Lankinen is, they will be just fine. The Chicago Blackhawks, I think, are in better hands moving forward than Nashville. But the team no one wants to play in that division, and I do think Carolina or Tampa Bay would beat them. But I'm not sure if the Florida Panthers want to play the Dallas Stars. Dallas Stars, don't forget, just won the Stanley Cup Finals last year. It's a weird year because of how the division realignment is. Dallas has studs. Jason Roberson's a very good rookie. They got Jamie Benn, Joe Pavelski, Miro Heiskanen, and I like their goaltending duo of Anton Khudobin and Jake Oettinger a lot. You can't go either wrong with any of those goalies. I'm curious to see what Rick Bowness decides to do. But they got insurance on the way, which might change a lot of things. They don't have Alexander Radulov or Ben Bishop, but they might be getting Tyler Seguin back, which gives them a big boost because then they get more respectable on the offensive side of the puck. And I also like Denis Gurianov, who is a right-wing sniper who's got a wicked shot from the right point. I remember that shot in overtime in the bubble last year that sent them to the Stanley Cup Final against the Vegas Golden Knights. And then lost in 6 games to Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think that playing Tampa Bay in the first round would be one of the most interesting things ever. So, we'll see how that goes. But now let's go back from the Nashville Predators Chicago Blackhawks game recap standpoint. So, first period goals. Chicago Blackhawks, Pius Suter, 4:14 mark, assisted by Brandon Hagel. Nashville Predators, Eeli Tolvanen. I like his future left, 14:16 mark, assisted by Victor Arvidsson and Ryan Johansson. Second period goals. Nashville Predators, Colton Sissons, 13:39 mark, assisted by, who's actually unassisted. Nashville Predators, Michael Granlund, 19:58 mark, assisted by Matthias Ekholm. Third period goals. Nashville Predators Luke Kunin, 58 seconds into the third period mark, assisted by Michael Granlund and Roman Josi. So now here comes the Chicago Blackhawks comeback after they were down 4-1. So Wyatt Kalynuk scored at the 10:04 mark for Chicago, assisted by Patrick Kane and Brandon Hagel. Chicago, Vinny Hiristroza scored for Chicago at the 11:13 mark, assisted by Kirby Dach and Nikita Zadorov. Chicago I looked up Zadorov's age. He's actually 26. I thought he was much older than that. Chicago Blackhawks, Dominik Kubalik tied the game at the 12:55 mark, assisted by Pius Suter, and they had a chance to take the lead in the third period on the power play, but they could not convert. But for some reason, I was watching that game last night a minute behind. I don't know why. So now let's get to UC Sour. So the Nashville Predators made 25 saves for them, and Malcolm Subban of the Chicago Blackhawks made 36 saves for them. So now I'm done with the NHL game recaps for today. We are live on 12 Out Sports. Get up to $1,000 bonus with your first deposit. MyBookie.ag. Promo 12 Out Sports. Glance Dynamic Sports going to be live on 12 Out Sports. Quench your sports thirst. So now, let's get into the NBA game recaps from the other night. I don't watch the NBA as much as I used to. I'm not a big fan of how the product is. I turned on the Brooklyn Nets New Orleans Pelicans the other night. And I didn't watch any of that until the fourth quarter. And I see coming time for the fourth quarter. I'm like, okay, we got ourselves a ball game here. I said this will be the best part, the final 5 minutes of the game. And ratings have been completely weighed down by like 30 to 40%. And it's probably going to continue to go down. Wonder if the NHL or MLB will ever surpass the NBA in ratings. Maybe we'll see one of these days. So the Brooklyn Nets took down the New Orleans Pelicans by a final score of 134-129 the other night. Kevin Durant still did not play because of a left thigh contusion, and James Harden had a setback in his hamstring injury. Makes you wonder what kind of chemistry the Brooklyn Nets are going to have when the NBA playoffs begin in around a month from now. Because they will be one of the favorites to win it all. And if they do not win it all, they're whatever. And you want to know what kind of blasphemous question that I saw on Twitter? First take had a question. On ESPN they said, who's more relevant, the New York Knicks or the Brooklyn Nets? 71 to 29% said the New York Knicks. And those people were celebrating last night with that 7-8 game win streak like they won the championship. The fact that these Knicks fans are celebrating when they haven't been relevant for years. This is worse than what I call New York Yankees fans. Actually, this is 10 times more obnoxious. You haven't been relevant, and now you're going to be like, oh, I'm puffing out my chest. Look at me. I'm puffing out my chest. We're finally good. And then when we suck, and then when we stink, the New York Knicks stink. This is what happens. Hi, can you see me? The New York Knicks are terrible. You can't see me. Oh, the New York Knicks have won 8 straight. Here I am. The Knicks have won 8 straight. Here I am. Finally, it's finally something to see. That's the way that I know how I've been today on this show. But as I said, louder equals better. Just remember that. So I love going on these shenanigans today. And Kyrie Irving did carry the Brooklyn Nets to this 134-129 win the other night on Tuesday. He did score 32 points for the Brooklyn Nets. He shot 63.2% from the field. Irving also grabbed 2 rebounds, recorded 8 assists, and recorded 1 steal. Joe Harris finished the game with 24 points for Brooklyn. He shot 62.5% from the field, Harris also grabbed 2 rebounds, recorded 2 assists, and recorded 1 steal. Landry Shamet finished the game with 18 points for the Nets. He shot 58.3% from the field. Shamet also grabbed 1 rebound, recorded 8 assists. Zion Williamson finished the game with 33 points for the New Orleans Pelicans. He shot 73.7% from the field. Williamson also grabbed 7 rebounds, recorded 4 assists, and recorded 1 steal. Here's what's interesting about the New Orleans Pelicans. The New Orleans Pelicans should be better than they are. The fact that they are under the 10 seed line with a talented roster led by Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball just needs to tell you how completely garbage of a coaching job Stan Van Gundy has done. He has not done a very good job with coaching the New Orleans Pelicans, and he should be, and ultimately be, a lot better than it actually is. The fact that and I know the Western Conference is tough, but when people are crowning Zion Williamson as a top 20, 25 player, you don't simply miss the play. And is Zion Williamson overrated? Probably not. Maybe he's just too big, struff and tongue. Maybe can't elevate other players around him. And sure, there are players like that. LeBron couldn't do that for a while. LeBron James couldn't do it for a while. And then he goes to South Beach and joins a guy like Dwayne Wade. And speaking of joining, the media the other night says Zion Williamson plays great in a big game at Madison Square Garden. It's like, oh, the New York Knicks. Stop with this New York Knicks nonsense. It's actually, and LeBron James mentioned about how it's good for the NBA when the New York Knicks are good. And he's not wrong. But the matter is, it's actually kind of funny when the Knicks aren't good. I mean, to see them puff out their chest like that, and the fact that they come out of crawling and hiding after they stink it up for so many years. I just wonder, Knicks fans are true Knicks fans, or are they bandwagoners? But Glenn, how could you call New York Knicks fans bandwagoners when they have suffered all these years? Yes, I will say it, and I will defend it. No one in New York, when the Knicks were back, any Knicks fan said, we're talking really about the Knicks. They weren't. But when they're good, they want to, as I said, they want to pump out their chest, act all like a bunch of fake tough guys out there, thinking they're ready for the fight, and in reality, they're not. Well, as I said, in regards, and I know Julius Randle, MVP candidate, Tom Thibodeau might be the coach of the year. I thought the New York Knicks were going to actually be one of the worst teams in the NBA. They got Isaiah Quickly, who was rated a D+ NBA draft pick on CBS Sports out of Kentucky. They have Derrick Rose, RJ Barrett. I still don't think they know what to do with Kevin Knox or Obi Toppin. Without Tom Thibodeau, there's no way they're the 4th seed in the East. That's just my opinion. So now let's get back to Brandon Ingram. Finished the game with 27 points for New Orleans. He shot 58.8% from the field. Ingram also grabbed 4 rebounds, recorded 5 assists. Lonzo Ball and Najee Marshall finished the game with 15 points each for the Pelicans. Ball shot 54.5% from the field. He also grabbed 4 rebounds, recorded 3 assists, and recorded 2 steals. Los Angeles Clippers and Portland Trail Blazers. Let me go through this quickly. The Clippers on Tuesday night took down the Blazers 113-112. Paul George hit the game-winning free throws with 4.4 seconds remaining in regulation, and CJ McCollum missed the game-winning jump shot. So let me go through it quickly. And Damian Lillard was out with a foot injury, but he came back last night for the Blazers. And also, speaking of foot injuries, Kawhi Leonard will be out for the next week or so with a foot injury for the Clippers. So, Paul George finished the game with 33 points for the Los Angeles Clippers. He shot 59.1% from the field. George also grabbed 11 rebounds, recorded 3 assists, and recorded 2 steals. Marcus Morris Sr. finished the game with 16 points. He shot 42.9% from the field. Morris also grabbed 6 rebounds and recorded 1 steal. Nicholas Batum, DeMarcus Cousins each scored 11 points off the bench. Cousins shot 66.7% from the field. He also grabbed 6 rebounds and recorded 1 assist. CJ McCollum led the way for the Portland Trail Blazers with 28 points. He shot 42.3% from the field. McCollum also grabbed 5 rebounds, recorded 5 assists, recorded 2 steals. Norman Powell scored 23 points for Portland. I know he left the game with an injury last night. He shot 50% from the field. Powell also grabbed 1 rebound, recorded 3 assists, and recorded 1 steal. Carmelo Anthony finished the game with 18 points on the bench for the Trailblazers. This is vintage Carmelo Anthony. He shot 27.8% from the field. Anthony also grabbed 3 rebounds, recorded 4 assists. I have watched the Phoenix Suns versus Philadelphia 76ers NBA game recap, but all I know is that Joel Embiid almost made a ridiculous game-tying shot with 0.7 seconds to go. That was set game overtime with Chris Paul missed free throw. And the Memphis Grizzlies, Los Angeles Clippers. John Moran is amazing, but the Clippers took him down. So FanDuel Sportsbook's odds, I wrote this down. I'm not really having time, but let me just tell you the top 3 candidates for the Hart Trophy. Connor McDavid, Edmonton, minus 1,500. He's going to win the MVP. Austin Matthews, Toronto, plus 950. And Sidney Crosby, Pittsburgh, plus 1,100. So what about the Vezina Trophy? The 3 favorites quickly. Andrei Vasilevsky, Tampa Bay, minus 170. Marc-Andre Fleury, Vegas, plus 200. And Philip Grubauer, Colorado, plus 400. So I like, in order quickly, McDavid 1, Crosby 2, Matthews 3. But if I had to give a dark horse candidate, let's go with Patrick Kane, Chicago Blackhawks, plus 1,500. And in the Vezina Trophy, I like Vasilevsky 1, Grubauer 2, Fleury 3, and keep an eye on the dark horse candidate, Connor Hellebuck at number 4. In my opinion, the Winnipeg Jets have a thing of 500, betting odds of 500, plus 500. So we'll see what happens with those plus bet odds of 500. And if you want to bet this, you could also use MyBookie as well.ag. Found it on FanDuel Sportsbook, but you could also use MyBookie.ag with these plus 500 odds and other stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of time here. Thanks for tuning in to Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend as well. I will be back on the air at the same time as well. On Monday, I'm probably going to go over Colorado Avalanche, St. Louis Blues NHL game recap, along with the Boston Bruins, Pittsburgh Penguins NHL game recap. And then after that is going to be my 1 to 2 to potentially 3 round NFL mock draft before Thursday's NFL actual draft for the 2021 season in Cleveland, Ohio. Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll. Have a wonderful week, and I'll be back on the air at the same time on Monday.